Welcome to Conversations with Denise. I am your host, Denise. And of course, always I think that our shows are very exciting and interesting. But today we're going to be talking about something that's been happening a little bit too often, if I must say. Violent crimes or crimes within our inner city. It's a very, very touchy topic because we're going to be talking about black on black crime. We're going to be talking about police excessive force. We're going to be talking about things that it's going to kind of hit home to some people. And of course, you know, this is not a show where we're going to be, dogging anyone out, but we want to bring awareness. And then my guest on today is going to help us find a way of resolve and an antidote to the crimes that we're seeing in our inner city. So I'm going to be back with my special guest. He's a retired police lieutenant from the Newark, New Jersey Police Force, 25 years of service. We're going to be back and we're going to be discussing these crimes in our inner city right after this commercial. I'll be right back.
August 6th is the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. People fought, people pledged, people sat in, people got arrested, people died, people were peaceful, people were violent, people were inspired, they were motivated, they were concerned, and they showed up and they made it possible for us right now to honor them and make sure that we register and pledge. Go to rockthevote.com and make sure that you register to vote and bring and speak truth to power this November. Your voice is what matters.
Okay, so I'm back, and of course, he's no stranger to Conversations with Denise, but my guest on today is none other than retired Lieutenant Umar Abdul-Hakeem. Welcome to the show, welcome back. I have to say that slow so I'll make sure I say it right.
Thank you.
I want to pull everything together, but welcome to the show again, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the input that I know you're going to provide to those who are going to be watching on today. And I want you all to pay close attention to the topics that we're talking about. We're not going to be bashing anybody. We're not going to be, trying to destroy one race or another. We just want to bring some awareness, and then, like I said earlier, an antidote to, if we can, to what's happening in our inner city. So the first thing I would like to talk about is some of the crimes that we're facing on a daily basis in the inner city. I'm sorry.
Well, when we talk about crimes in the inner city, and we're talking about crimes pretty much across the board in the big cities, you're talking about the drug issue, you're talking about the violent crimes, shootings, murders, robberies, armed robberies, strong armed robberies. We talk about, when we talk about drugs, so now you talk about it's not violent unless something happens as a result of a person being afraid, but we're talking about home invasions, burglaries.
And you say across the board, so in any inner city? Pretty much
in any inner city, these are the crimes that people and police deal with on a daily basis.
Okay.
This is something you come to work, you're going to get your number of robberies, you're going to get your number of shootings. They may not be a result of murders, but you're going to have your violent crimes, shootings, because of the gang issues,
right?
Territorial. I got to protect my area. So,
and you were a police officer you were up on the force. I don't know how you say it. You were a police officer for 4 years,
right?
And then internal affairs for
15
of the last 25 that you served.
Yes.
And you were a sergeant in between.
In between, yes.
Okay. Share with us some of the, I guess as a police officer, starting there, because you were pretty young when you got started, I can tell.
Yes.
So as a young police officer starting in the city of Newark, New Jersey, that's our home.
Our home.
So we know what the inner city, and we both, I don't know, I grew up in the inner city. You grew up in the inner city?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And which is wonderful because you grew up in the inner city and you came back to serve.
And I actually patrolled my neighborhood.
Oh, whoa, wow.
Yes.
How did that go over?
Well, it's when you sit in the academy for your 5 months, 6 months of training, you kind of have an idea where you want to go.
Okay.
And where you don't want to go is the neighborhood that you grew up in.
Right.
I had apprehensions because I'm new. I'm white. I have
Right.
no idea of what to expect.
Right.
And you know, when they give you your assignments after you graduate, they say, well, Umar, you're going to the West District. Like, I
Okay.
can't go to the West District. I
grew up there.
You know, so you know, you now you're in your mind, you start thinking about the challenges. You know, will I be able to do my job? Because everybody knows where Umar lives. You know,
Wow.
they know where he grew up, where his
Right,
mother
where his
is. You
family
know.
is.
Right, right. So, but you find out, just do your job, treat people the way you want to be treated, and I tell you, I enjoyed my 4 or 5 years in patrol working in my neighborhood.
In your neighborhood. And so today we're going to be talking about police officers, how they're handling some of the situations that we're seeing on TV almost weekly, almost daily, really.
Yes.
Some of the incidents that we're seeing. But then you kind of crossed over, and as internal affair, you were the person who kind of investigated.
Police to police.
You policed the police.
Yes.
And so we have an unbiased opinion because you've worked in both fields.
Yes.
And one of the things that I want to talk about is, as a police officer going through training, the mindset and how a policeman's mind is shaped. The policeman's mind is shaped that we don't retreat.
No. You know, when you think of it like this, when situations occur, you paint the picture in your mind that people are running away from the problem. Police are programmed or
Wow.
trained
Trained.
to run to the issue.
Right.
You know, we don't run. You don't retreat.
Right.
You have to get some type of resolvement
Okay.
when you're called.
When you're called.
You know, whether it's arrests, they have a mutual agreement, or you take a report.
Okay.
You know, but something's going to be done. You're not going to
So
leave.
when you're called, you're going in to take control over whatever that situation.
You're going to handle the situation.
You're going to handle it.
Yes.
And then, so if I am the offender, the mindset of most or what we see, and we're going to watch some video. We're going to show you a few videos, and I'll go ahead and put a little disclosure. Some of them can be a little disturbing, but you're going to see a couple of videos, and we're going to talk about the videos as well. But the mind of a lot of the offenders that we're seeing is that they're non-compliant.
Yes.
And so that is the reason why we're hearing, I guess, so much about the incidents of the shootings and the assaults from the policemen and those types of things. But we're gonna go and we're gonna watch a video and we're gonna come back. We want you to pay close attention to this next video. Again, it's a little disturbing, but I want you to see it, and we're gonna come back and talk about this video.
This is your driver's license, you're being stopped for speeding.
But I'm already stopped, so technically can you stop me? Because you didn't pull me over because I'm parked.
You only, ma'am, you were about to go inside without a wallet, so I know you were only coming here because you know I was coming to pull you over. I can ask them to stop you if you've already parked, yes. Yes, this is your driver's license. All right, take a seat back in the car so we can close the door. Put your feet back in the car so I can close the door, please. Okay, ma'am, stand up for me, okay? No.
No, why are you stopping me? Oh my God! Oh my God!
Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Get out of the car.
I'm getting out. Let me get out. Do not touch me. Do not touch me.
Get out of the car now.
Oh my God!
Put your hands behind your back.
Oh my God!
Put your hands behind your back. You are not aware. Put your hands behind your back.
Why are you doing this?
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
Put your hands behind
Oh
your back.
my God!
I'm about to tase you.
Leave me alone! Are you kidding me?
Put your hands behind your back.
Okay, so y'all can stop with the video because that's a little bit much for me to handle. Okay, so a couple of things I hear. I hear the police officer saying, stop resisting. I hear him saying, put your hands behind your back. I hear him telling her to be still. But then I also hear her saying, why are you stopping me? How do we handle this? Talk to me about that video.
All right. And I need to put a disclosure on it because
Okay.
I'm not condoning what happened.
Okay.
You know, I think it got excessive. But as an internal affairs investigator, I never took the posture of second guessing another officer's judgment. Okay. So just let me say that first. I don't want everybody to say, you know, this guy's the worst.
No.
All right. But there's that the whole situation could have been avoided.
Okay.
Before we even got to step out the car. You know, when the officer pulled up, he said, I'm pulling you over, you know, for pretty much a motor vehicle violation.
Right.
At that point, let me see, and he said, I know that you're aware I'm going to pull you over because you had your license and it ready.
Ready, okay. So she was ready when he pulled over.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now, the last thing you should ever do is get out the car. Unless you're told to get out the car.
Okay. She got out without.
Right. And he said,
stay
get back in the car.
He did say that.
Right. So if you just listen to the instructions. Just listen to the instructions to avoid any incidents.
Yeah.
You know, a confrontation with the police officer.
So has she complied? And that's where, as the offender, although she may not have done anything wrong with being pulled over, she was still pulled over. She should have just complied with what the police officer said.
Yes.
But you will agree that it got a little bit out of hand.
Oh, it was a lot out of hand.
Okay, so that was one video. We're gonna come back after this break, and we're going to show you another video, and I want to hear your opinion on that. We'll be right back after this break.
Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, women, who walked with God and walked before us, women whose feet beat paths and paved roads for the women who would come after them, who bore children and carried crosses, who carried hopes and prayers and dreams. For them, life was a womb, a place to carry calling until it's ready to be born. We've heard the songs. We've heard the sermons and the messages. We've seen a glimpse of what God can do, but what will we do? How will we take the words we've heard, give them bones, muscles, feet, until they seep not only into the words we speak, but into the lives we live? We want to be women who in the face of evil refuse to be polite. God is saying to us, do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous when you lead and when you work, when you love and when you care, when life seems like too much to bear, when you write, speak, create, when you have to wait, when you want to cuss, when it's hard to trust. Be strong and courageous.
Okay, so you just witnessed the video, and we want to talk about, again, if she had just complied, right?
Yes.
It got out of hand, it escalated. I think both of them are in the wrong.
Both are in the wrong.
Okay, both of them, so I'm right. Good answer.
Yes, great answer.
On that one. I have another video, because we want to talk about how things get escalated so quickly, and then how things are handled differently when the color of the skin is different.
Okay.
So I have another video we want to watch, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that video as well. Okay, so here's another video. Another offender, same thing, put your hands behind your back. Non-compliant.
Non-compliant.
Non-compliant. So typically the mind of what we consider offenders or criminals or whatever, they're non-compliant. That's where we get this combativeness and this, I guess, defensiveness from the police officers.
Right.
Because they have to now, again, take control of the situation that they're in. The difference is, this is a white Caucasian man, and he begins to assault
The police.
the police officers.
Right.
They do tase him, however, right?
Yes. They use some type of force
Okay.
in efforts of trying to control the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we're looking at now is a lot of tactical or training issues that
Okay.
could have been avoided. However, the point is they showed in this video a lot more restraint.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest question, because when we look at certain videos, we can't say generic all videos,
No.
but you take an example of this and the last one.
Right.
You know, they use a lot more restraint. It was too much dialogue going on.
A lot
you know,
more
now
dialogue.
if I'm looking at that, I'm saying, listen, why are you going back and forth?
Right.
You know, when you see you got one cuff and you obviously see that he's much more stronger
Right.
than you are, call for backup, because
did
the
not call
force,
for backup.
the number of the thought of seeing more officers for the most will alleviate
Right.
a lot of this going back and forth. You know, so you call for help.
So do you think that there, in between those two videos, do you think it would have been handled differently? And I'm speaking to you now as a internal affairs police officer, investigator. If it was a black young man and the two white officers, do you think it would be handled? We know the situations that have happened in several of the cities around the country.
Well, based on the history, the
Okay.
last year, if that suspect was black,
Right.
that may have been a lot worse.
Okay.
A lot worse. You know, we don't want to call out the state, but in Texas, this seems to be going on a regular basis.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
had Austin, you had Dallas, you got, you know, little cities in
Right.
Texas, they would have killed him, at least shot him.
And so we're going to flip back and we're going to show a little bit of of the tape of the young lady. And there's something that was said while they were driving. The police officer said something to the effect about because black people have violent tendencies. And so we'll hear that. We'll show you that video later. We're going to flip back and we're going to show you a little bit of that. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on the videos. I wanted to show that because when you're dealing with crimes and situations in the city and police officers are called in, there is some racial profiling that's going on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We have a photo that we want to show and then want to talk about that photo. And I'm doing this because a lot of times we prejudge based on what we see and what we've heard about a particular race of people.
Right.
Right? So I want to show that, and then I'm going to come back and want to talk about the diversity training that needs to happen, or that you and I believe needs to happen. This is a picture of 4 African-American young men. And to look at them, they're dressed in urban clothing. They have dreadlocks, some of them. They have tattoos. But these are 4.
Gang signs.
And is that a gang sign?
No, but it can be.
It could be a gang
from
sign.
another
Okay.
police officer. He may say,
It's
"Oh,
a
he's
gang.
shooting gang signs." Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so, but when we read the caption, we find out that 2 of these young men, all 4 of them are college students. 2 of them are criminal justice majors. 1 is a forensic science major, and 1 is a computer science major.
They're all on the dean's
And
list.
they're all on the dean's list.
Yes.
And they're all on the dean's list. But again, we talked about a lot of times we only judge a person, or people are judged by what they see
Right. And here.
and hear.
Right.
Okay, and so when we're talking about our police in our inner cities, you mentioned to me something as far as cultural diversity training.
Yes.
Talk to us about what that is.
Well, cultural diversity training is just what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You get police officers. So we set the pretext. We're talking about bringing police officers from other ethnicities into black neighborhoods.
Right.
All right. So if you never grew up around black folk,
Right.
you don't know how to talk or deal with black
Right,
folks.
right.
So
Or if you're not integrated into
right,
the environment.
right.
Absolutely.
So what happens is you bring police officers in to a setting, and we talk about the way they talk,
Okay.
the way they deal with each other. It's the same thing about Hispanics. You know, they got the machismo. You know, you can't. They're all, the man is the dominant force in that house.
Okay.
So you have to, when you go into a situation, you have to know that if there's a domestic violence incident, you know, what are you expecting to hear
when you go
when
in.
you get there? So you're not surprised. You
Right.
know.
And you said something. Not just African American and European cultures, or but you have Asian, you have Latino cultures. Everybody's culture is different.
A lot different.
A lot different. And so, whether you're a police officer or a social worker, you need
To
cultural
know.
diversity
Right.
training so that you can deal with each situation based on the culture and the way that that person thinks.
It'll reduce a lot of problems for you and everybody that's involved in that situation.
Okay. Okay. Well, we want to talk about what needs to happen, and you and I both agree that there needs to be education, not just for our young adults coming up in the city, but for our policemen, for our citizens that live within the communities, as well as the young people within the inner city. So we're going to continue the conversation. We're just going to keep going because I think this is a subject that really needs some attention brought to it. And then we do have an antidote, and we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show. But we'll be right back after this break, and we're going to continue the conversation. Women are the vessels of the world's generations. The value that a woman holds cannot be priced. On November 10th through the 12th, we will discover the real value of a woman. Generational curses will be broken, enabling generational blessings to be released. Join me, Lady D. Williams, along with a host of other inspiring women as we embark on a journey together to rediscover what it means to be a generational changer. Okay, so we're back, and we're just going to continue this conversation until the next show because I think it's, again, like I said, it's something that just awareness needs to be brought to it, and then we need to find some type of antidotes. I think if I can share, if Umar can share, if you and your community can share, help our inner cities, and then just help our communities around us, even if it's not the inner city, be more aware of what's going on. I think we can bring some resolve to this. So one of the things that's going to help is educating not just the policemen, but also the citizens that live within our communities and within our areas. I heard a forum, it's been, oh gosh, I think when Trayvon Martin situation happened, and we had some policemen on a panel, and they were talking to some of the young men. One of the things that stuck with me the most was one of the police officers said, at the end of the day, like you want to go home to your family, we want to go home to our families. And that struck me differently because a lot of times, you said it earlier, we expect policemen to run into a situation while we're running away from it. But we never see them as a son, as a father, as a brother, that might be his last run.
Right.
Running into a situation that we've called them into. So I think one of the first thing we have to do is really educate our community on the fact that policemen are human.
There needs to be, and again, I get it with everything that's going on, but there needs to be a sense of sensitivity toward that person as well.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, you know, we're trained to take action, to help, to assist, taking that, to do something, But like at the end of the day, your wife, your son
Right.
or daughter,
Right.
And you react.
Yes.
You react.
Right.
You do what you're trained,
Trained to do. Absolutely.
But I think the biggest thing is people think it's all right for a police officer to get killed in the line of duty. I don't know one cop that took the job and said, you know what, I'm going to do my 25 years, but if I die in the line of duty, that's all right.
It's all right.
No.
Yeah.
No. We don't come to work
To die.
Right.
Right.
And I think if for any other reason, that's the biggest thing. People, there's a sensitive side to cops as well. And if you just comply, just comply.
Just comply.
I always say live for tomorrow because you can always do something after the fact.
Live to file a complaint.
Exactly.
Right. We're going to pick back up on this conversation in just a few moments. I'm going to come right back after this break. Well, we'll be coming back to you next week, but I'll be right back after the break to talk to you a little bit more about the subject we're talking to on today. Women are the vessels of the world's generations. The value that a woman holds cannot be priced. On November 10th through the 12th, we will discover the real value of a woman. Generational curses will be broken, enabling generational blessings to be released. Join me, Lady D. Williams, along with a host of other inspiring women as we embark on a journey together to rediscover what it means to be a generational changer. So it's no doubt that we're dealing with a very touchy, a very emotional conversation when we're talking about crimes in the inner city and how they're handled with our police force, and then also how the offenders are non-compliant. This is something that's police officers and the community is dealing with every day. And so this subject is so befitting because we're seeing it on an ongoing basis, almost daily. There's been some type of a shooting, there's been some type of an assault, there's been some type of a racial slur by whether it's a police officer on a suspect or a suspect with the police officer. Either way, it needs to stop. Either way, we need to find something to do about it. So with that said, I want to continue this conversation on next week's program. So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and stay tuned next week. We're going to pick right back up where we left off, and we're going to keep talking about crimes happening in our inner city and how we can bring an antidote to this situation. I'll see you next week right here on Conversations with Denise.